Hello and welcome back to the Yarn Horse Crafting Podcast. My name is Sasha and I'm coming to you today from a town just outside of Birmingham in the West Midlands here in the UK. It is a bright, sunny and very cold day here in the UK. We have a lot of snow and ice on the ground, emphasis on the ice, but it's January. I'm hoping the weather cheers up a bit so that I can actually venture out of the house without the risk of falling over. I may have mentioned this before, but I am very talented at falling over on dry, level ground. So as soon as you throw ice into the mix, I'm just going whee! So, welcome. This is not a regular podcast episode. This is my 2025 year in review video. I know we are a week into 2026 now, but I didn't want to do this until December was completely over. Mostly because there was a few people I wasn't going to see until like the last days of December, and I wasn't sure if they were going to go have some yarn. So, you know, just wanted to be 100% sure that I had the accurate figures and everything, which I now do. So I have notes here, and I shall kind of jump straight in. In 2025, I had one goal. One. And that was to be stash neutral. I failed. I failed a lot. But that's okay. The fact that I failed that goal doesn't make much difference, because the important thing is I learned a lot about myself last year. About my making, what I like to make, the types of yarn I like to use, and stuff. So the fact that I failed that one goal but I learned a lot more about myself is more important to me in the long run, because it means I can put that stuff I've learned to better use for my 2026 goals, which I did talk about in some detail in my 12 cast-ons intro video, linked in the card here, I think. But I should go over some basic details, some numbers. I know there's a lot of people who really like the numbers. I will also mention some of the stuff I made. Where possible, I will put a picture here, and designer and yarn and everything here. For some of those, that's not possible, because for some of them, I didn't bother taking a picture of them before giving them away, which was smart. But I finished 30. One of the projects I did in December was knitting a lot of little Christmas booties, mini stockings. I counted all of them as one project. Well, all but one of them was just one project, and then one of them, because it was a different size, weight, it was a separate project. So I finished 30 projects that I recorded in my book for last year. It does not include the 2 orcas I made, because they were commission work. So although I showed them on the podcast, I didn't count them as finished objects for this year because they were commissioned. I did also work on another commission piece last year, but they didn't want me showing that on my podcast, so that's not counted either. But I finished 30 items. That included 10 pairs of socks. 3 of those were for my other half. I believe 2 of them were gifts. 3 of them were gifts for other people. So that was 6 pairs of gift socks and 4 pairs for me. I made / finished 3 winter garments. I made 5 summer garments, and I also made 5 scrappy projects, but all 5 of those scrappy projects were done in December. I do apologise if the light went a bit funky there. A lorry was passing the window. So yes, 5 scrappy projects all in December. And they equalled roughly 400 grams of yarn, I believe, of scrappy yarns. Most of that was leftover acrylic, other bits, a little bit of stuff that I didn't want to keep for other projects, basically. So, or little nuggets I've had for ages that I didn't know what to do with, so I put them into a basket. I also destashed 550 grams of yarn via Vinted. You'd think that might have helped my grams out, but we'll get to the totals of that in a bit. A couple of the ones I finished this year included my Elizabeth jumper by Alice Starmore that I was determined to finish in time to wear to Wonderwool. And as you can see, I did achieve that goal. I wore it to Wonderwool. It was amazing. I also finished my teddy bear jumper using the Karen latte cakes. And then of the summer garments, I made what I'm considering a failed crocheted summer top, a Tulster tee, a Tulster tank, a Golden Oaks tank, which is probably the most successful of my summer makes, and a mini mock neck, which was neither mini nor mock neck because I decided to make it longer and misread the pattern when it came to the neckline. But so we did. Oh, my leg's going to sleep. Sorry. I also made 10 out-of-house gifts. So by out-of-house, I mean they were made for people that wasn't my other half. So I made him some stuff, but because it didn't leave the house, I didn't count it in this section. And amazingly, this year, for my other half, or technically last year now, but I only actually finished 3 things for my other half last year, and they were all socks. So if you watch the podcast frequently, you'll know that that means I definitely didn't get my Jones cardigan finished in time for Christmas. I have just started the first sleeve, but the button band, the shawl collar and everything is now finished. So hopefully I can get that finished within the first quarter of this year. 1, so he can wear that to Wonderwool, and 2, because that's nearly 1,000 grams into my grams out. Moving on. So I made 10 out-of-house gifts. This included multiple pairs of socks, a couple of homeware items, a cardigan and a blanket. Did I get pictures of any of the gifted items? No, I didn't. I might be able to catch or grab a couple of stills from previous videos, but no, I was an idiot and didn't get pictures of any of these, which I'm a little bit sad about. It would have been nice to have pictures of some of these, including the Halloween cushion cover I made for a friend, but I'm sure I can ask him very, very, very nicely to send a picture for me. Of those gifted items, the cardigan I made for my mum was probably my favourite, although in a future video it actually appears in my bottom 5 projects of the year. And that's because one of the things I learnt about myself this year very, very, very strongly is I don't particularly like crocheting with thick yarn. I could kind of get away with it with the baskets. They're supposed to be thick and quite tight gauged. I don't like chunky yarn. or bulky if you're following the US weight system. It's not my thing. I very much prefer fingering to DK weight yarns. Maybe an Aran, depending on the project, but I definitely don't like crocheting with thicker than DK weights. It's not my thing. I know there's some people out there that swear by chunky yarn. That's fine. More for you, because I'm not going to be buying it. It's not my preference. I much prefer thinner weights. So the hexagon cardigan I made for my mum, while looks amazing, she loves it. I think it looks really good on her. I won't be rushing to make another one. I think my sister's been eyeing it and dropping some subtle hints, but we shall see when I next speak to her. She might be dropping less subtle hints at that point. So, but yeah, so 10 out of house gifts. All of them incredibly well received, I will say. Everybody I make for is very, very knit / crochet worthy. They love their items. Yeah. I'm pretty sure if I asked if they wanted more stuff, every single one of them would scream yes at the top of their lungs and pull out a giant list for me. But moving on. I also surprisingly made 13 items that were specifically for me last year, which I was actually quite surprised by because it felt like I was doing a lot of making for other people. 2 of those were winter garments, which had technically both been started in 2024, but they counted in last year because that's when I finished them. I also made 5 summer garments for myself, although one of them I didn't finish in time to wear. In fact, I still haven't actually blocked it properly. And another one is just a fail. It doesn't fit me. I tried it on and I wouldn't be allowed in anywhere because I would be told that I'm indecent. But I made 13 items specifically for me, so we're doing all right. This year I do plan on making more stuff specifically for me, or the house specifically. So most of the stuff that I plan on making this year will be remaining in this house. So me, there's a few items from my partner, and there's a load of homewares I want to make that I've been putting off for ages. If you've been watching my 12 cast-ons, I've already cast on 2 things for the house. There might be another item for the house. We shall see. I haven't fully decided that yet. But, so... And now we get to the numbers for the yarn. So, I finished 30 projects last year. I also destashed 550 grams of yarn via Vinted. So, the total grams out of stash, this is just the finished items or the destashed yarn. So, any of my stash busting projects that aren't finished haven't been counted as out of stash. All of the jumpers, socks, other projects that I'm working on also don't count as going out of stash even if they are almost finished. Total grams used, left the stash, no longer taking up space here, is 6,272 grams, split between 30 projects. So mini scrappy Christmas stocking booty things, summer garments, winter garments. All of that added up equaled 6,272 grams of yarn, which I was actually very, very happy with. I was thinking, oh, that's a good number. I wish it was another 1,000 grams higher because I wish I'd finished Jones cardigan, but I didn't. So 6,272 grams. I shall also put it on screen just in case I'm saying it a bit too quick or anything, just so there's no confusion. I thought that was okay. That was a decent amount of yarn used. My partner went wide-eyed when I told him how much yarn I'd used. He almost choked on his tea when I told him how much yarn I brought into Stash this year, though. And if you'd like to guess, place your bets now. Like, write it down, have it next to you, put it on a note on your phone or something, and then let me know in the comments if you think you were correct about how much yarn I brought into Stash this year. So that's yarn that's come into Stash specifically for projects. So yarn I've bought for commissions has not counted. Even though I add the scraps to the Stash, I don't count it specifically. So gift yarn was counted, stuff I bought from shows, from shops, online, stuff like that. But not the commission yarn. In total, I brought into Stash 9,570 grams of yarn. Yeah. That's a lot of yarn. So that equates to a total difference of 3,298 grams. Oh boy, that's quite a lot of yarn that's entered my Stash this year. Yeah, about 1,000 grams of that was gifted by friends and family, but that's still a lot of yarn to have come into my Stash and not been used. Given my Stash neutral goal was, so it wasn't supposed to be like the number had to be 0. The way I was reading Stash neutral was 500 grams either side of 0. I'm quite happy with my Stash as it is. I don't really want it exploding out of this. I do have like a drawer specifically for all the scraps, but it needs to fit in here basically. There is some this side. This cube, although it has some yarns because it's overflowed, is meant to be for books and books only. But yeah, that's a lot of yarn. I will say, there is some ways where that number will go down, in certain ways. Having learnt that I don't really like chunky yarn, I don't really like working with it, and stuff, I am using what I've got. I'm using it up, and I won't really be buying more chunky yarn. I know people are like, oh, but it works up so quickly when you buy chunky. You also have to buy more of it. Yeah, it's thicker, but you still buy more. You have to buy more in the weight to make a decently sized project. So, hopefully, well, the plan for this year is to finish my garter stitch blankets. That's one of my goals. That's going to be about 1,250 grams of yarn out of Stash. So that's one thing. I'm also using up other chunky yarn. One of my 12 cast-ons is some cushion covers in a chunky yarn. Bulky. I think it's technically bulky because it's the Karen latte cakes, and I think there's a slight difference between bulky and chunky, but I don't use it enough to actually look into it to find out. If you can hear some bumping and banging, I do apologise. They're collecting a bunch of road signs that were put up from temporary traffic lights outside. And so they like to make noise when they do that. But 3,298 extra grams of yarn in my stash since last January. I don't know exactly how much I have in weight of yarn at this moment in time. I never bothered counting last January. I didn't see the point. I just was like, the stash looks good, it looks healthy the way it is, it's a decent amount. If I aim for stash neutral, then that'll be good. But yeah. So this coming year, 2026, I would definitely like to be stash neutral. Preferably, if I'm going to be one way, I'd rather it be stash negative rather than stash positive. But yeah, I think we definitely need to keep the yarn buying, yarn consumption down. Of course, if I start somehow having more time and making more, then I can buy more to go with it, sort of to keep it at stash neutral. But I need to finish projects. I need to finish the big, heavy, chunky projects, get the chunky yarn out of stash, get it gone, and then focus on the yarns I like, the weights I like, the projects I like, and focus on making more stuff for me. I would like to be a selfish knitter this year. And I know there are some people out there who are always like, oh, I'm trying to be a less selfish knitter. No, be selfish. Be selfish. If you want stuff for you, be a selfish knitter for a year. Like, I know one of my friends is crying when I told him that this year was going to be a selfish knitting year, because he was there going, but socks. But you know, this year it's going to be a selfish knitting year, more stuff for me, and we need to be stash neutral. I don't have the space to put up more shelves to store yarn, so I mean, I'm already running out of project bags with my 12 cast-ons, to the point that one of them's being kept on top of the yarn bowl that the yarn is held in, and the other one is just sat on my coffee table waiting for me to pick it up again. Thankfully, I have a couple more bags for the smaller projects. I don't know what I'm going to do with my 12th cast-on though. I suppose, given the 12th cast-on is going to be a long-term project, it's going to be a year-long project, it's not a temperature blanket. It's going to be a year-long project. I can probably keep that in a smaller bag to begin with. But yeah. Last year was a good year. I'm happy. I finished 30 projects. I did 5 scrappy projects. I learnt a lot about myself. That is a bonus. That's a plus. That's amazing. But I need to take everything I've learnt from 2025 and put it to use in 2026. I would like, by the end of this year, to be able to say, I took what I learnt, I put it into use, and I succeeded. We'll see how that goes. I know everyone's there at the beginning of the year going, I'm not buying yarn this year, it's going to be great, I'm going to reduce my stash. And then by June, they're going, ooh, shiny. I'm sure at the end of April, when I go to Wonderwool, I'm going to be there going, ooh, shiny. And my partner's going to be there going, think of your stash. Yeah, the little devil telling me to be careful and not buy too much yarn. I'll leave that when I see it. So, yeah. Another thing from buying yarn last year, I did technically go to 3 shows. I went to Wonderwool, I went to the Christmas craft show at the NEC, and then I went to the Christmas wool show at the NCC. Those 3 shows did account for about 3,000 grams of yarn. So 3 kilograms. It might have been closer to 4 actually. It might be closer to 4,000 grams, so 4 kilograms, but yeah. Probably won't be going to the Christmas craft show at the NEC this year. Definitely going to be going to Wonder Wool and the Christmas wool show though, because those are the 2 shows I like. So we shall see how 2026 goes. I hope you will join me for 2026. Do let me know if you were correct in how much you thought I brought into stash last year. And I hope you join me on my continuing journey with my crafts. And I hope to see you next week when I hope to have a regular podcast episode. It depends how well I go with the 12 cast-ons. I'm pretty sure the yarn for my 12th cast-on, or the first skein of it, will arrive next week. Yes, I know. Oh, you're going to be stash neutral already buying yarn. It's a yarn club, but I won't ruin the surprise for that. But I hope you'll join me. I have a 12 cast-ons playlist, which I shall link here. If you're curious about what I've been casting on for the beginning of this year, I've got an entire year's worth of videos. If you'd like to see some of my knitting style, look more into my podcast style, and yeah, I hope that the start of this year has been good for you as well, and I look forward to sharing this journey with you. And with that, I shall leave you with a montage of photos, maybe a few video clips of some of the projects that I've finished this past year, and I hope to see you next time. Bye guys.